Okay, welcome back. We're in Module 8 and we're talking about formulas and functions in this particular module. We've already gone through Section 1 where we got an overview of how formulas work, and we started working on Section 2 where I'm showing you how to create formulas using functions. We were in the middle of looking at those functions, so let's go ahead and continue so we can see some of the other functions that are in Excel. The last one we looked at was concatenate, which allows you to join two different columns of information together in one. So let's keep going. When you go down the list, another one that's going to be really popular is the count function. If you have a series of numbers and you know you should have 100 numbers and you select them all and it says you have 99, then you know you're missing someone. Here's one that counts all the blank cells. Here's one that will do a count if it meets certain criteria that you put in. Going down the list, we've got a couple more. Let's say, for example, you want to work with some date and time functions. You've got a couple right there. You've got some other functions going down, and let's keep on going until we see if an if statement is going to be something you're going to do on a regular basis. We'll be actually running one of these in a later module, but basically you have it checked to see if something you've typed in is true. If it is true, you have it do one thing. If it's false, you have it do something else. Going down the list, there's a few more that are going to be really popular. And let's just kind of get on down here to where we see sum. There was max. I just passed max on the list. That finds the highest number in your range. Remember that min, M-I-N, will find the lowest number in your range. Let's say we've looked down the list and we come across the word sum, S-U-M, and we decide that this is the one we want because it adds all the numbers in a range of cells. I'm just going to hit OK. And now this is the part called function arguments. The arguments portion is basically the range portion, or where the numbers are you want to do something with. Notice it assumed C6 through 11. I can leave it there, or I can change that last one there to a 10 because I do want C6 through 10. Notice it shows me all the values in those cells, and it gives me the result right down here. I'm going to come back in a minute and tell you about number 2, but for now I'm going to click OK. And there's the exact same formula we wrote using the auto sum, or we could have written it by hand. The reason you have that number 2 field was because what if you're going to add two different ranges? Let's say for whatever example over here, I'd like to add January and March. What I would do is I would go to Insert Function. I would find Sum from the bottom of the list here. Notice if I click here, I can hit S and I'll go to the S's. I'm going to find sum. When I click OK, it's going to assume the range, and I said I wanted January, so that's my first range. Now I'm going to click where it says number 2, and I'm going to drag through March. And that's why you have multiple fields. I could even add a third range if I wanted, and it would keep on going. But that's what that extra field there is for. Let me go ahead and cancel out of that. I'm going to go ahead and use my fill handle and copy across to get my averages, and my fill handle for the highs to copy across to get those. I wanted to briefly tell you about these buttons right here. They may look familiar. This is your function library. If you remember when I took you into the insert function button, there were several different categories I told you that you could pick from. You've got financial, date and time, math and trig, and you'll see a lot of these right here. It's just a quick way if I don't want to come all the way back into this insert function window and I'm looking for a particular function that I know happens to be under financial, for example, I can just grab it right from the drop down here. Now, one more thing that I wanted to point out. When we were looking at this exercise, we had done all of these formulas right here, but if you notice, we have no formulas down here at the bottom. And I don't have to go down here and actually write new formulas. I can actually copy these and paste them down here. All I have to do is right-click and copy, go down to the bottom where it says total, and then right-click and paste. And the reason this works is because of that relative reference we talked about earlier. It knows to change the column or row relatively so that the answer is correct. When you do this, always check one answer. If one's right, they're all right. If one's wrong, they're all wrong. And when I look at this particular one, it does refer to 22 through 26, so that is correct. That's going to give you a quick overview of how to use your functions when you're writing formulas. We've got one more section in this particular module we need to look at, and I want to look at section 3, which is the absolute values, and show you how those work. I'll see you over in section 3.